Dell made quite the splash in the gaming monitor realm with the release of the Alienware AW3423DW earlier last year. Impressive as it was, the price was well beyond the budget range of many core gamers. So recently, Alienware announced a new member to the family, the similarly named AW3423DWF, which is priced slightly lower at $1,099. So is the Dell Alienware AW3423DWF really worth it? Does it live up to its predecessor's reputation? Apart from price, what else is different? We'll find out soon enough. For more information and updated price, check the links in the description box below. In terms of pricing, the Alienware AW3423DWF gaming monitor is currently available for $1,099.99 on Dell's website. This updated model is $200 cheaper than the AW3423DW, which is also still available on the manufacturer's website. It smells like a rat to me. Given how this model is cheaper, lighter, and supports 120Hz on consoles, choosing it over its predecessor should be a no-brainer, right? The Alienware AW3423DWF is a gaming monitor through and through, and a little bit more through. It has a sleek 1800R curved display that nicely wraps around your field of view. Except for a 34 and Alienware's signature alien logo on the back, the chassis is entirely black. This gives the monitor a slightly more menacing appearance than the previous model. The Legend 2 Alien Effects lighting on the back adds some flair. At 16.36 or 20.69, that's compressed or extended height, by 32.1 by 12.04 inches with a weight of 21 pounds with the stand, the AW3423DWF is decidedly on the large and heavy side. The stand's V-shaped legs can also take up considerable space on the desk, like that ever stopped any gamer. With that said, this monitor is lighter and thinner than the previous model, without the stand. Even if it's only a pound lighter, mounting the new Alienware monitor to your wall via the VESA mounts on the back should be easier. Like before, you can raise or lower the screen across a span of 4.3 inches along the stand's shaft. You can also tilt it backwards -5 degrees or forward up to 21 degrees. The screen also swivels 20 degrees both left and right. The screen tilts and swivels smoothly, and it's effortless to get your preferred viewing angle. The AW3423DWF has plenty of connectivity options. This includes an HDMI 2.1 port, a pair of display ports, 4 USB-A ports, 2 downstream, 2 upstream, a headphone jack, and a line-out port. Beneath the monitor, you'll find an on-screen display joystick used for entering the menu to configure display settings. Ports are largely similar to the previous model, with 2 notable differences. You now get 2 display ports instead of 1. Thanks to the HDMI 2.1 port, PS5 or Xbox Series X players can experience games like Destiny 2 at 120Hz. Granted, titles that can run at 120Hz on modern consoles aren't exactly plentiful, but it's good to have an HDMI 2.1 port for the few games that feature the option. Rather be safe than sorry. Switching to the display side of things, the curved 3440 by 1440 quantum dot OLED display with its 165Hz refresh rate and 21:9 aspect ratio is as impressive now as it was in the previous model. I'm still in awe of how incredible everything looks on this monitor. As before, this monitor features 6 preset picture modes that are optimized for different gaming genres. You are right, zombies never got any scarier. In standard mode, the AW3423DWF covers 180% of the sRGB color gamut and 127% of the wider DCI-P3 gamut. Obviously, the closer to 100% the better, with a delta E value of 0.24, which becomes better when closer to 0. These values are slightly below the previous model's 183% and 129% respectively, though the delta E result remains the same. In contrast, the Predator XB323QK's default picture mode achieves 138% of the sRGB color gamut and 97.7% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, with a delta E value of 0.29. The Gigabyte Aorus FI32U's default picture mode covers 127.9% of the sRGB color gamut and 90.6% of the wider DCI-P3 gamut. The Gigabyte M32U achieves a narrower 124.6% of sRGB and 88.3% of DCI-P3. There are different brightness levels depending on the picture mode and whether or not HDR is enabled. In standard mode, the Alienware AW3423DWF averages 236 nits of brightness. HDR 400 averages 366 nits of brightness at 40%, while HDR 1000 averages 359 nits at the same percentage. The other modes are slightly higher or lower averages than standard, but remain within the 360 range. This implies no more damage to your eyesight due to low brightness, as colors seem to spark to life with the range of variable degrees of brightness this baby has to offer. Crisp and vibrant images are important, but you need games to run as smoothly and responsively as possible. Thankfully, the AW3423DWF's performance is as impressive as its bold design. The monitor features a 165Hz refresh rate, an AMD FreeSync Premium Pro, and, capping the outstanding performance, it retains the industry's fastest 0.1 milliseconds gray-to-gray response time. It's practically gifting you fast-moving graphics, a compelling view, and a smooth gameplay. However, you might not get the best results if your PC is incapable of running games at high frame rates. And while the AW3423DWF has excellent image quality overall, it suffers a problem found in its predecessor: mediocre sharpness. The monitor's resolution of 3440 by 1440 works out to about 110 pixels per inch. That's nearly the same as a 27-inch 1440p widescreen, but way below a 27-inch 4K monitor, which packs roughly 163 pixels per inch. The qd-OLED panel also has an uncommon triangular RGB subpixel layout. Windows doesn't expect this layout, and as a result, there's some fringing and pixelation around small fonts and interface elements. It's not a deal-breaker, but it can make fonts less attractive and more difficult to read. The problem is much less obvious in games, which tend to have larger fonts. That said, the Alienware AW3423DWF looks brilliant. In fact, I subjectively like it more than the AW3423DW. I've seen a lot of competitors to Alienware's OLED in the past year, and found that while most are excellent, none of them beat the Alienware's qd-OLED panel overall. Except for the Asus ProArt PA32DC, but it's in another league entirely. On balance, the AW3423DW and AW3423DWF have the best SDR image of any OLED monitor available for $2,000 or less. One thing that I haven't mentioned yet: watching YouTube videos or other streaming content can be hit or miss due to the monitor's 21:9 aspect ratio. If you're watching something filmed at 16:9, you're going to see empty space, black bars on the sides. But if you're watching content shot at 21:9, you'll have the same immersive experience as when playing games running at the same aspect ratio. Be aware that neither the PS5 nor the Xbox Series X has games that display in 21:9, which means you'll always see empty space on the sides of the screen. Nevertheless, the AW3423DWF has a clean interface that's relatively painless to navigate. It features a black and gray background along with blue and white lettering. The OSD joystick used to sort through menus is rated to be fairly responsive. The menus in question include the 6 game modes along with options for adjusting the brightness or contrast, configuring the alien effects lighting, and more. There are several presets if you don't want to spend time toying with options. However, if you'd like to adjust settings to your exact liking, you can do that as well. The various shortcut keys for preset modes like brightness, contrast, input source, dark stabilizer, and volume are definitely appreciated. All in all, the Alienware AW3423DWF qd-OLED addresses some of the issues people had with the original model. The lower price is solid, as is the inclusion of HDMI 2.1 support. Even if it's only an overall minor upgrade, the improvements objectively make it a stronger product. With that said, it's difficult to recommend this monitor to those who already bought the original version. HDMI 2.1 support is nice, but it's not worth upgrading, especially if you primarily play PC games, and as I said, few console games even support 120Hz. If you own the AW3423DW, then you're not missing out on much. But given how the AW3423DWF costs $1,099, it's now an easier device to recommend to newcomers. However, if that price is still too steep, the Gigabyte M32U and Gigabyte Aorus FI32U make for solid alternatives. Sony InZone M9 is another strong choice under $900 if you want to save a few $100 without having to stress about it. For more information and updated prices of the products mentioned, check the links in the description box below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to check out our previous video on the top 5 best gaming monitors.